This is my 13.4 initiatives and strategies for participation. So our first scenario is a boy called John, who's 13 years old and lives in Hastings. He's not a fan of team sports but loves wakeboarding. He went on holiday once and had a go at it and has really taken to it, but he cannot afford to take part at home. So for John, his main real barrier that stops him from taking part is the fact that they can't afford it. This prevents John from being able to take part in the wakeboarding, because if they can afford it, then obviously there wouldn't be the problem. This is due to his socio-economic class, and it really is a massive thing that prevents John from being able to do the wakeboarding. So another barrier is that the family can't afford the wakeboarding, so they are also unable to afford a holiday. If they went on holiday again, that would give John another chance to get into wakeboarding, and maybe if he was really good at it, he'd get some sponsorship deals or something, which would then be able to help him afford it. So another barrier is that John does not enjoy team games. Team games are typically cheaper to take part in. For example, football and rugby are cheaper than golf and tennis. Therefore, John does not have the opportunity to take part in wakeboarding, but would be able to take part in games such as football, cricket and rugby while he's at school, as they're a lot cheaper and you can do them on school premises for school teams and stuff and in PE, whereas you can't really do wakeboarding in PE unless you go to a school where they have a lot of facilities. Another barrier is that there may not be the facilities for wakeboarding in Hastings, which could restrict John's opportunity for taking part in wakeboarding. So if they had the facilities and they could make it quite cheap, then John might be able to do it, but if they don't have the facilities, then they won't be able to do it. Also, because John is probably a bit of a beginner in wakeboarding, they might not have the facilities to suit John as a beginner. Instead of, they might have facilities for people who are really good at it, but then they might not have the facilities for beginners. One last barrier is that many sports such as water sports, so like kayaking, canoeing, surfing, may have actual age restrictions, as you have to be, for example, 15 to take part, and John is only 13, so this could be a barrier preventing John from taking part. Cultural influences on John is that he may be so he may be put off from games such as rugby, football, like team sports, due to the culture that is associated with the sport. So, for example, rugby and the like drinking initiation stages, this could put John off. I know he's only 13, but as they get older, this sort of happens, and then this could put John off. Another cultural influence for John could be that he's too old to start sports, as people would be much better than him, he feels. So, for example, if a football team have been together since they were 8, then and he's 13, they will have already been playing for 5 years, so John may feel he cannot start, but he doesn't have the experience. One last cultural influence for John is that if his parents come from a low socio-economical background, then they may have to work a lot of hours each week to provide for John and his family. So this therefore could mean they simply do not have the time to get John to and from like sports clubs or classes. So then we have Sportivate. So Sportivate are an organisation funded from lottery money, of which was meant to run from 2011 to 2015. However, it has been carried on due to the success. Sportivate offers 6 to 8 weeks of coached activities. This ranges from all kinds of sports such as football, tennis and water sports. This will get a person into a 6 to 8 week routine, of which is hoped to be carried on. 400,000 people have taken part in this setup, 15,000 in Brighton. This will help to introduce inactive children into sports. The organisation offer special programs for young offenders, Worthing and Chichester hospitals to get inactive children exercising. 1,600 inactive people took part last year, and these sessions offered are either free or cost £1 to £2, which is a main strength of Sportivate. Other strengths consist of well-designed activities, qualified coaches and increased access for children. However, there are many limitations to Sportivate, such as the sustainability of being able to afford the activity once a 6 to 8 week course is over, and the price therefore then may increase. So something like wakeboarding might get quite expensive. The system also relies on inactive children, so if an area applying for a Sportivate course are not inactive, then they will not be commissioned the money. And lastly, it is very difficult for Sportivate to track whether or not the children will take part in sport again due to the questionnaires not being filled in. So Sportivate can help John as they'll be able to set up like a class of wakeboarding for John to take part in. This will then get John into sport and he will be active. So if Sportivate cannot offer the wakeboarding as there's not the facilities, they could also offer him a similar activity such as skateboarding, longboarding or surfing. This will then get John into a similar sport that he can then find a sport that he is like really good at. John will then be able to take part in this for 6 to 8 weeks, paying £3 most to take part. This will introduce John into being active, but will also help him make new friends as he will be going to a club each week doing something he enjoys with others that will enjoy it. This is a common interest between them which can help him make new friends. This could make John more emotionally strong, increasing his confidence with meeting new people. Okay, so our second scenario is Project 500 and Louise. So Louise is talented football, completed her sports leaders and loves coaching. The football coach at her school does not help her to coach the younger female and male teams and usually gives the role to a male footballer. So one barrier for Louise is that her teacher does not give her the opportunity or does not help her to train or coach the younger teams. This is common in schools as teachers usually give it to one of the boys who they feel has good knowledge of football and the girls are overlooked, which is very quite sexist in a way. Another barrier for her is the fact that there is a lack of female role models in sports coaching, which could put off the teacher from letting her coach and could put off Louise from having the motivation to coach. If there are very few other females coaching, then one barrier, then she just may not want to do it and might give up. One barrier is that Louise is of a minority, that there are only 30% of all coaches female, 70% of coaches are male. This could demoralize Louise as she will be the minority of female coaches. Another barrier for Louise is that she may want to coach a girls' football team, however the girls' football team does not get the media coverage or have the same role models as the men's. There are also not the same amount of girls' teams, so therefore Louise may struggle to find a team which she wants to coach as there are not as many opportunities. Cultural influences on Louise may be her economic status. So as she wants to be a football coach, she may not have had the money when she was growing up to take part in sports such as she wanted to, such as horse riding, golf or tennis, as they're too expensive. This therefore meant she would have to take part in team sports such as football, netball or rugby. This could be a reason why she got into football. And if her family come from a low socio-economic background, then they may not be able to afford for Louise to do her coaching badges. She has her sports leaders but could need coaching badges if she wants to coach more and a more advanced level, and they are very expensive to take part and get the qualifications. So Louise is also restricted by her gender, as women's football does not have the same media coverage as men's, which prevents young girls seeing the football and looking up to the female players as role models like the boys do. This could put someone off of football. Another cultural influence on Louise could be the fact that she gets into coaching. She will be in a men prominent environment. Louise could be put off of coaching altogether as she may feel that she wants to coach with more females. This could make Louise lose her motivation. Project 500 is a campaign set up to encourage and get 500 females qualified coaches in sport. Project 500 are sponsored by Sports UK, Sports Coach UK, and the project helps support and encourage the females as much as possible to become coaches in sport. Project 500 offer meetings with ambassadors which will help to motivate and increase knowledge of the female coaches, and the target was to get 500 female coaches in sport. However, they are now on 560 female coaches. This number is still increasing. Reach is another campaign run alongside Project 500. Reach purely focuses on getting anyone of any age into female coaching. Reach help to motivate women in coaching. They feel that there are not enough women coaches in sport. Therefore, Project 500 offer support for female coaches to get into coaching and have local links to clubs to then set the female coaches up with a sports team, for example, a young hockey team, as you can see on the screen. This will then be a great experience for the coaches and will get them into sport coaching. Benefits of Project 500 are that they are very equal and feel equality is needed in sports coaching. This is a very fair way of coaching, as it's not just males coaching. Another benefit is that now young females in sport are being coached by females, which may well make sport more appealing for young girls getting into sport. One last benefit is that Project 500 empowers women in male environments, so you'll get more women into male prominent environments such as coaching. So instead of turning up to football and it just being a few men coaching you, you might have more women there now, which will be good for girls getting into football and some boys getting into football. Limitations of Project 500 are the fact that there are so many male coaches that it could put off females altogether. This will then keep males in place as coaches, so then the females won't actually get their chance to coach some teams as the males will have put them off. Another limitation of the project is that 560 female coaches are a very small proportion of all coaches, so therefore it may not have as big an impact as intended. Lastly, a limitation is that there are 70% of all coaches male and 30% of all coaches female. This is a problem for women as they are a minority, and will 560 people change that stat that much? Most likely not, as there is a massive difference in the numbers. So even if there are an extra 560 people, women coaches are still a minority compared to the males. So Project 500 will be able to help Louise coach for her football, as they will be able to support her through any training she needs to qualify to be a coach. Project 500 will then motivate Louise through her coaching and help her with her coaching badges if she needs it. Louise will also have emotional and mental support, as she'll have Project 500 always behind her, backing her, motivating and supporting her. Louise will then be qualified coach and can go to her like PE teacher or football coach, and will be able to say that she is as or even more qualified to coach the younger age teams than the boys are, as the boys are normally allowed to do it without any qualifications, again, which is quite wrong. Okay, so our last example is school sports games and Sarah. So Sarah has a mobility impairment that stops her from participating in her class activities as much as she'd like to. She's a very determined and competitive girl, however she cannot take part in the school netball team due to her mobility impairment. So Sarah has a mobility impairment, which may be that she's in a wheelchair, or it may just be she can't move her upper body properly. This stops Sarah from being able to take part in the netball team. So this is one of the main barriers, as it does this stops her coach from allowing her to be in the team, as maybe it would be not safe, or maybe she's just not good enough due to her disability to then get into the team and secure a place in the team, as it's a competitive environment. So another barrier for Sarah is the fact that there are not many there's not many teams for her to be in, like for disability children. So there's not the same opportunities as there is for like people that don't have disabilities. So there's less teams of disability children than there are of, just say, like a football team. There are so many to choose from. So this could stop her from taking part in school sports teams and getting the same experience, such as like friendships and team like motivation, which you get when you do join a team. Not only is Sarah unable to take part in school netball team, but she is also unable to take part in class activities. These may be different activities in the classroom, PE in school, or lunchtime games.